Sometimes in your data set, what you're after is a grouping of categories that's not quite the way things originally are in your data set. Maybe you had 4 categories, but you want to boil them down to 2 categories, or the categories are currently in a certain format, like a characters or a factor, but you need them in numerical codes. So we're going to use something called the case match function in this short video to show how to transition that into a new variable that fits your needs. Now, the case match function is in the dplyr, I don't know what that stands for really, package. So you're going to want to download, install that package, and then load it. I've already got it loaded here. And the data frame we're going to use is one that comes with R. It's called iris. So we'll just go get that. And we can view this to see what's there. This is a classic data set of 150 iris flowers and just some measurements about those flowers. And there's 3 species of iris, and that's going to be our focus here. The setosa, the versicolor, and the virginica. And if we load up the LSR package and we use who_true, we can see that right now species is a factor. It's a factor with 3 categories. But let's say that we want to turn these into numerical codes instead of factors. We want these to be labeled, say, 0, 1, and 2 for the 3 different species. So we're going to use actually the case match function here. And if we want to, and I always recommend this, we can create a new version of the variable so that the original version stays the way it is. You're not sort of replacing the old version with the new version. You're keeping the original variable there, but you are going to add a new version, which you may use for some of your analyses. So I'm going to create a new variable called species2, so it's still within the data frame iris, species2, and then I'm going to use case match. And you can see what I've done here is I'm just using this sort of format here, but I'm adding this little bit so that what it spits out actually goes into the data frame as a new variable. So in parentheses, we start off by putting the name of the original variable, so that's iris species. And then we're going to take each of the 3 factors in quotes. So we have setosa, and we're going to use a little squiggly to represent that it's going to be turned into that. So if we want these to be categorized as 1, and then versicolor will be 2, and then virginica will be 3. Okay, so unless I made any errors, we now have a species 2 variable, and we can see that all the setosas are labeled 1, all the versicolors are labeled 2, and all the virginicas are labeled 3. And if we use who_true again, we can see that this is a numeric variable, and that's helpful. Process seems to like things that are dichotomous or multi-categorical, likes them to be numeric, not factor. What we just did here will also work equally well if this was a character variable instead of a factor variable. So either way, whether it's a factor or a character variable, the names of the factors or the characters will go in quotes, and then a tilde, and then the number that you want it to be turned into. Anything that doesn't fit this scheme, in other words, if there were a 4th category, but we didn't say what we wanted it recoded by, it'll automatically turn into missing data. But we can also use this to turn numeric data into a different version of the numeric data. So let's say that for some reason we wanted to merge together the versicolor and the Virginica categories, so that we're going to create a new numeric variable with only 2 codes. Maybe a dummy code where Setosa becomes 0 and Versicolor and Virginica both become 1. And this can be helpful if you have a category that doesn't have a lot of data, but it's similar enough to another category that you want to merge it together. So in this case, I'm going to create a third species variable. We're going to use case match again. And we're going to work from species 2, since we've got that numeric variable there. Species 2. So in this case, like I said, we want Setosa to become 0. So 1 will become 0. And note that I'm not putting quotes around the 1, because the 1 is not a character or a factor, it's a number. And then the other 2 were going to become 1s. So the Versicolor was going to become a 1, and the Virginica was also going to become a 1. So when I look at this now, we can see that the Setosa is 0, the Versicolor is 1, and the Virginica is also 1. So now we've recoded this such that, if this made sense for your data situation, you could now consider this a dichotomous dummy-coded variable, which you could include in your analyses that way.